Hello, everybody, and welcome to the first episode of Wrestle Erotica, perhaps the internet's only podcast that combines erotica and wrestling. And the reason that I decided to make this is mostly because I was bored, I had a lot of free time, I love wrestling, and I think erotica is a hilarious genre that is underrated. So, with that being said, I think we should just get straight into the gist of the episode. And in this episode, there's two different stories. The first one features Bray Wyatt and Dean Ambrose, and the second one features Jazz and Johnny Nitro. So, without further ado, enjoy the episode. Alright, this story is called The Wounds of War, and it is by fanfiction.net user Red Sandman 99, and this one is starring Dean Ambrose and Bray Wyatt. And without further ado, let's get into The Wounds of War. Here we go. Dean didn't know how he made it to the back on his own. He really didn't. He was used to picking himself off the floor and carrying on, but tonight it felt like he had reached a breaking point. Another show had brought another street fight against Bray. They had been fighting in so many of them lately that they were all starting to blur together. But this one would stick out. This one felt exceedingly brutal. Chair shot after chair shot had been brought down across his back. A belt had been wrapped around his neck and had been used to choke him until the ref had yanked Bray off. A superplex onto a ladder, though, had really fucked him up. The pain that had shot through him upon landing had nearly brought him to tears. He hadn't even been able to immediately move after it. The only reason he hadn't lost right then and there was because Bray took more time to toy with him. He had tried to make a comeback, and ate his sister Abigail for his troubles. Wins and losses had rarely mattered to him, but losing to Bray was messing with his mind. At least when he lost against other people, he had felt like he was really taking a piece of them with him. He felt like they wouldn't be the same after facing them. Bray just seemed to get stronger after everything he threw at him. Dean didn't realize large hands were closing in on him until it was too late. He should have known they were coming, yet they still took him by surprise. They slammed him up back first against the wall, sending a fresh wave of pain through his body. He barely had a chance to cry out in pain. Bray's mouth was right on his, swallowing down his noises eagerly. Teeth clashed together before sinking into his lips and tugging hard. Dean moaned, melting into the kiss more than he returned it. He was too hurt and exhausted to try to claim any dominance of his own. It wasn't like he really had it anyway. They both knew who really had the power. A growl sounded through the air that didn't belong to either of them. New hands entered the fray, pulling Bray off Dean angrily. Roman had arrived, his fury shining through his eyes as he tried to throw Bray to the ground. Bray was too big to just be tossed around like a rag doll, though. He yanked himself free from Roman's grip, and his own eyes blazed with fury. Fuck, this wasn't good. This wasn't good at all. The fuck was that shit, Wyatt? Roman looked ready to pounce. Ready to just pounce on Bray right then and there. The fuck did you think you were doing out there? Winning my match, Bray replied. His anger turned into a manic glee as he let a smile across his face. Something you couldn't quite manage earlier. He pointed to the bruise on Roman's jaw. Big Show got you good, boy. You fucking brutalized him. Roman wasn't taking the bait. Instead, he pointed back to Dean, his anger rising with every second that passed. That wasn't necessary for the fucking match, Bray. I don't see him yelling at me for it. Bray peered around Roman's large frame to look at Dean. You really don't need the brute fighting these battles for you, do you, darling? Yeah, he did, actually. That was the problem. As fucking pissed as he was for Bray just trying to actually murder him out there, Dean couldn't fucking bring himself to say it. All it took was a look from Bray and he couldn't fucking speak. A look would twist his insides up and scramble his brains. He felt sick for it. There was no reason in the world to give Bray that kind of power over him. Yet he did it every single time. He's coming with us. Roman's tone should have left no room for argument. If he had been talking to anyone but Bray, this would have been the end of the discussion. You don't fucking get him tonight. And what if he wants to come with me? The conversation was just going on like Dean wasn't standing right there. He shuffled his feet, doing his best to avoid eye contact with Seth. Seth had been working on mending fences with him and Roman. since the Authority went out of power at Survivor Series. Roman, being the gentle sap who had never stopped loving Seth, had been letting him back in, but Dean couldn't. Not after what he did, not after the things he said, not after the way he had tricked him into opening his heart to him and stomping on it for his own amusement. And despite knowing and accepting the fact that Roman was hopelessly in love with Seth, it hurt that Roman was forgiving him so easily. "He's not coming with you. He's safer with us." "Right. Safer," Bray laughed at that. "He's safer sitting in a car with a man who deliberately stabbing him right in the back in front of the world." Roman stiffened at that. He had no counter-argument for that. He couldn't justify Seth's actions. "I'm not letting anything happen to him. Not from Seth and not from you." Seth stiffened and Bray laughed. "Do you really think he wants to sit and play third wheel to you two again? Do you really think he can sit there easily and be comforted in you protecting him when you let the Judas right back in?" All eyes went to Dean, who couldn't return anyone's gazes. He didn't want to admit that Bray was right. The bastard was insufferable enough as it was, but he couldn't stand there and lie. He couldn't say he wanted to be in the same car as Seth. He couldn't say he didn't resent Roman for fucking letting him back in. He couldn't fucking lie, and he didn't fight as Bray pushed past Roman and grabbed him by the wrist. Roman objected again, trying to grab Dean to pull him back. Dean shrugged him off, his stomach turning as he literally felt Roman's hurt expression following him as Bray dragged him off. He tried to just push it out of his head. He made himself focus on the iron-tight grip Bray had on his wrist, which really did hurt. He tried to pull himself free. He didn't want to play third wheel to Seth and Roman, but actually going with Bray wasn't a safe option in itself. No matter how hard he pulled through, Bray held on all the tighter. Dean didn't know whose empty locker room they ended up in. Whomever it belonged to, it was apparently theirs now. Bray locked the door behind them and shoved him back up against the wall. Bray kissed him like before while his hands slid up under Dean's shirt. Dean shivered as he felt Bray's hands running over his still, sweaty body. He shivered and tried to squirm away from the touch. He was too tired and too sore to want to keep doing this. But Bray wasn't a man who simply just stopped. Not when he was wanting something. His hands kept groping over Dean's body, tugging impatiently at his clothes. Wait. Dean finally managed to tear his mouth away from Bray's long enough to speak. "For what?" Bray pulled his head back and practically glared at Dean. "What now?" "Do we gotta do this now?" Dean shifted slightly, trying to see if he could slip away. "We could go back to the hotel." "Since when do you like to wait for the hotel, little lamb?" Bray leaned back in, his lips hovering less than an inch away from Dean's. "You're always the one coming to me after all our little matches." He moved a hand down Dean's body so it rested over his jean-covered crotch. So needy, so desperate. Dean felt his face flush. It wasn't that Bray was wrong. He was, rather embarrassingly right. Sex and violence had always gone hand in hand, but tonight had been too much. He was just so tired and so sore that just standing there hurt. He needed the reprieve. The plea for it was right on the tip of his tongue, but it wasn't allowed to come out. Bray's mouth found his neck, kissing and sucking, all across his skin in such a deceivably gentle manner. It was a trick. Gentleness from him was always a trick. But Dean still found himself weakening. It was always so hard to keep up the fight against Bray. Doing it in the ring was one thing. Dean could make himself soldier on, but barely. Outside of the ring, forget it. Even when he wanted to fight and stop this, he gave in. It was just easier to give Bray what he wanted. He was in too deep anyway. There was no digging himself back out of this mess. Bray's mouth continued to travel over his neck, while his hand rubbed at Dean's crotch. Dean whimpered, his legs involuntarily bucking against it. He felt Bray smirk, and then suddenly his gentle pretense was gone. His teeth sank down harshly, breaking Dean's skin and drawing blood. His hands yanked on Dean's jeans, determined to get them out of his way. Dean groaned and yanked on Bray's clothes in return. It was easier to just go with it. As much as he didn't fill that up for this, he was even less up for any more fighting. The most it was going to do was just piss Bray off, and that was about the last thing he wanted. Dean's jeans fell to his ankles, and he nearly choked as Bray shoved 3 fingers into his mouth. He forced himself to suck on the thick digits, his tongue swirling around them to get them as wet as he could. Bray's eyes were locked on his, and he shuddered. When they had started this, the routine had been more simple. Bray would chase. Bray would get them Bray would chase, Bray would seduce, they would fuck, and then Dean would run off swearing it wouldn't happen again. But somewhere along the way, things got messy. Dean tried to just blame their on-screen feud. What they were saying and doing was just making each other angry, and they were taking it out on each other, much like Bray had done to him tonight. But in his heart, he knew the shit had been getting too crazy for a while now. Bray was obsessive and possessive, not happy with just having Dean's body. He wanted his mind and soul, and Dean felt himself giving more and more of that away. His brain told him not to. It really did. But he was weak. He pretended he wasn't, but he was. Especially when it came to his relationships. It was why Seth's betrayal had narrowly killed him. It was why Regal had driven him to near institutionalization, and that was why he was stepping out of his jeans and kicking them aside, ready to just let Bray do what he wanted. Worse than the thought of Bray just taking what he wanted was the thought of Bray getting sick of him too, and leaving him. He couldn't take any more. His life had been the one who had cared more. He had been the one to fall in love, while the other person just used him for their own means. With him and Bray had the more extreme emotions. His obsession made him want, and more importantly, need him more. And it was totally dangerous, because Bray was fucking demented, but Dean couldn't break himself away. He couldn't, even if he wanted to. Bray wouldn't let him. Bray moved his fingers out of his mouth and slipped them down between his legs. He slipped them inside his hole, one by one, working them quickly and roughly. His other hand slid Dean's shirt up, his eyes admiring the myriad of damage that laid across his skin. Bruises upon bruises mixed together, all from the street fights they had put in over the past few weeks. Mixed in with the bruises were cuts at various stages of healing. Bray loved to play with knives and glass and anything that would make a complete mess of Dean. Dean was lucky he didn't wrestle shirtless anymore. He wouldn't ever be able to explain away all of these marks. Even Roman didn't know about these, and if Dean could manage it, he would never tell him. Roman would go ballistic in the fight that would break out between him and Bray would only get him hurt. Roman was tough, but Bray was a straight-up monster when he really wanted to fight. Bray moved his fingers out and picked Dean up, barely giving him a chance to wrap his legs around his waist before thrusting aside. Dean smashed his lips against Bray's, desperate to muffle his own scream. There was barely a moment to adjust to the length inside him before Bray started pounding into him. Hard, brutal thrust jarred his whole body, increasing the pain in his back. He wasn't going to be able to walk right in the morning, not between this and the match he had endured. His fingers gripped the back of Bray's shirt, their mouths still fused and working to keep the larger man quiet for once. But that was never something that lasted for long. "I don't want to keep fighting, you little lamb," Bray spoke between desperate kisses. "Do you really think I like doing these things to you?" He kept one hand under Dean to keep him held up while the other grabbed Dean's hair. I wanted you by my side out there, just like you are here." He tugged on Dean's curls, making him whimper in pain. "But you keep making me hurt you." His eyes narrowed and Dean said, "This has to end bloody because you had to be stubborn." Dean offered no defense for himself. His mind was spinning too much to even think straight. He only whined desperately and tried to sneak a hand down to stroke himself. Bray smacked it away. Instead of wrapping his own hand around Dean's cock and stroking it roughly, Dean closed his eyes and moaned out of his head. Something could be said about the way everything just had to be on Bray's terms, but he was too tired to say it. He was too tired to even care. "Bray! Oh, fuck!" He threw his head back, wincing as it hit the wall. "Oh, God! Bray, please, please, please!" "What?" Bray scraped his teeth across Dean's throat. "Say it, darling." "Oh, God!" Dean swallowed hard, the tension in his body building. He was so close. He was so fucking close. He just needed a little bit more. Let me come, Bray, please." "Why should I?" "I'll do anything, Bray, please." This was dangerous. Too dangerous. He had to stop, but he couldn't stop. Stopping himself was a fight he couldn't win. He had lost this war so long ago that he wondered why he had ever tried to convince himself otherwise. "Please, please, oh God, please." The begging finally satisfied Bray. He moved his hand faster and thrusted his hips harder, sending Dean over the edge. Dean didn't bother to try to mask his cries. If everyone was around, the damage was already done. He felt Bray's release follow his, and his movements finally stilled. They stayed as they were, panting for breath and clinging to each other. For a moment, Dean's body was too sated and blissed out to feel the pain anymore. For a moment, a calm had settled in their storm. Their fighting no longer mattered. It wouldn't stay that way for long, but Dean simply closed his eyes and tried to let himself bask in it as much as he could. This story is entitled Jazzy Persuasions, and it is located on WowEFA, which stands for Women of Wrestling Erotic Fiction Archive, and it is a story made by Christy and Dice. And without further ado, here we go with Jazzy Persuasions. On the afternoon of April 9th, 2004, Raw General Manager Eric Bischoff's apprentice Johnny Nitro is in an office in the back of Saginaw, Michigan's County Event Center, talking to Bischoff on the phone. Yeah, everything's going to be great for tonight's live event. Victoria is defending the women's title against Molly and Lita. That dimwit Eugene is facing A-Train. Benjamin and Orton are going to have a best 2 out of 3 falls match, and Benoit is defending the world title against Batista, Nitro says. Good. Just make sure to stick it to Jericho in his match with Christian, Bischoff says. Sure thing. I'll change the rules of the match so Christian can't get disqualified, Nitro replies. Excellent. There's hope for you yet. Call me when the show's over to tell me how it went, Bischoff says before he hangs up. Nitro hangs up the phone and grins. Man, this job is so easy, Nitro says, and just as he's about to lean back on the office chair, the office door swings open and Jazz storms in. Jazz presses her lips firmly together and locks her eyes on Johnny Nitro. Where's Bischoff? Jazz says, in an unfriendly tone, dressed in a short, copper-colored, Xena-like skirt, black bottoms underneath, and a copper-colored top. Oh, he's not here for this weekend's events. I'm running the show, Johnny says, with a grin while appearing oblivious to Jazz's body language. You? Jazz rolls her eyes. What are you? I'm his apprentice. Mr. Bischoff thinks it's better for me to make decisions on the non-TV shows before he lets me try doing it on Raw, Johnny explains. Jazz crosses her arms against her chest. I want a shot at the woman's belt. Do it. Well, you should have asked earlier when Lita and Molly did. It's already be said that Victoria will defend the title in a 3-way against the 2 of them, Johnny says. Then make it a 4-way, Jazz snaps. I'd love to, but there's a problem. The match lineup has already been submitted. Those 3 are preparing to face each other. Wouldn't really be fair. Jazz narrows her eyes and glares at Johnny Nitro. Are you saying no? Well, I kind of need a good reason on why I should change the match. Jazz turns her head from side to side, cracking her neck. You want a reason? Yeah, Victoria was supposed to have tonight off, and Lita and Molly both gave real good reasons why they should get a title match tonight, Johnny says. Jazz raises an eyebrow. What do you want, Jazz snaps. Well, like I said, Lita and Molly both gave real good reasons. If I'm going to make Victoria face a 3rd diva, I need proper convincing, Johnny says with a sly grin. Jazz presses her lips together and nods her head. Get your dick out, Jazz says with little enthusiasm. Johnny tries not to look smug as he proceeds to unbuckle his belt and undoes his pants so that they can lower them, freeing his very impressive, long and thick cock to the self-proclaimed baddest bitch of the WWE. Jazz locks her intimidating eyes on Johnny Nitro as she steps closer to him. You think you can handle this bitch? 'Cause I'm one badass bitch, Jazz says before she tightly wraps her left hand around his cock. That's what I'm expecting, Johnny groans as Jazz begins to firmly plump her left hand on his hardening cock. Jazz tosses her hair back before she sinks down onto her knees in front of Nitro, working her hand back and forth on his cock. Ah! Johnny Nitro moans as Jazz roughly pulls on his long, meaty cock as it hardens in her tight grasp. You like that? You like being handled by the baddest bitch around? Jazz yells as she jerks her hand roughly on his cock. Yeah. Johnny moans as Jazz pumps her hand back and forth on his cock. Jazz leans her head down and starts to slap her tongue against the head of Johnny Nitro's cock, while moving her hand swiftly on his shaft, turning her hand and grinding her palm on his shaft. Johnny moans as Jazz smacks her tongue against the bell end of his cock, while she aggressively strokes the thick shaft. Jazz looks up at Johnny with her intimidating eyes as she guides her tongue around his cock, while roughly stroking his shaft. Johnny moans as Jazz works her tongue around the head of his cock, while she pumps her hand on his shaft while he removes his shirt, revealing his gorgeously muscular upper body. Jess lowers her eyes as she traces her wet tongue around the head of Johnny's cock, before she parts her lips and takes them into her mouth, pressing her lips firm around his cock. Ah, yeah, Johnny moans as Jess starts to bob her head on his long and thick cock. Jess groans as she begins to bob her head on Nitro's cock, working her lips on his cock. Ah. Johnny moans as Jess rocks her head back and forth on his cock. Jazz moans and roughly rakes her lips on his shaft as she bobs her head. Ah, shit. Johnny moans and tilts his head back as Jazz sucks his cock. Jazz moans and turns her head before she drops down her head down his cock. Ah. Johnny groans as Jazz swallows every inch of his large meaty cock. Jazz moans and roughly bobs her head back and forth, letting her lips grind down on his shaft. Ah. Johnny Nitro moans, just sucks and slurps on his cock as she maintains an aggressive pace. Jazz moans as she places her hands onto his gorgeously muscular and tanned waist, as she bobs her head at a swift pace, with her lips grinding and moving along his impressive cock. Ah, yeah, fuck. Johnny moans as Jess pulls him forward by his waist, as she bobs her head rapidly on his cock. Jazz moans as she bobs her head steadily forward and slaps her tongue against his shaft. Johnny Nitro groans, as Jess appears to be lustfully bobbing her head on his cock. Jess moans and rapidly bobs her head up and down on his cock. Ah, yeah. Oh, yeah, convince me, Johnny moans, as Jazz turns her head and grinds her lips on his shaft. Jazz moans as she roughly rocks her head downward on Nitro's cock, her lips grinding sharply. Fuck. Johnny moans as he looks down at Jazz just as she glances up at him and grins on how deep she takes his cock into her mouth. Jazz begins to slowly pull her head back from his impressive cock, with her lips roughly rubbing along his shaft as it leaves her mouth. Damn! That was one hell of a blowjob, Johnny says with a cocky grin. Shut up, Jazz says as she stands up from the floor and reaches underneath her skirt-fashioned attire and proceeds to lower the bottoms underneath. Johnny licks his lips and wraps a hand around his saliva-coated cock in order to stroke it as he watches, as Jazz steps out of her bottoms. Jazz locks her eyes on Johnny Nitro again. Get on the desk, Jazz snaps. Johnny raises an eyebrow but smirks as he stops stroking his cock and clears the items on the desk off before climbing onto it and laying down. Jazz grits her teeth as she climbs onto the desk before she moves her body to straddle Johnny Nitro, sharply dropping down on his cock. Yeah, Johnny moans, as Jazz impels her tight black pussy on his long, hard, and thick tool. Yeah, who's the bitch? Jazz moans as she places her hands down onto his muscular chest as she starts to rock back and forth. You're the baddest bitch. Johnny moans his reply as he starts to thrust his cock upward into Jazz's snatch. Yeah, I'm the bitch, Jazz yells as she rocks forward on his cock, sharply grinding her pussy down. Johnny moans while he thrusts his cock up into Jazz's snatch while she grinds herself on his stool. You like that shit, huh? Jazz yells as she bounces at a rapid pace. Johnny nods his head as he throws his cock smoothly up into Jazz as she bounces widely on his dick. Oh fuck, Jazz moans as she firmly holds her hands down onto his impressively muscular and tan chest as she rocks forward on his cock. Johnny licks his teeth as he constantly raises his hips, with each of his upward thrusts into Jazz, while she feels her palms pressing against his rock-hard abs. Who's the bitch? Jazz yells, and moans as she aggressively moves on his cock. You're the baddest bitch, Johnny replies, with a moan and a smirk as he keeps his pace steady with how he's thrusting his cock up into Jazz, while he raises his hands and pushes her top up, exposing her firm black tits, which he begins to grope with his hands. Oh fuck. Jazz moans loudly and grits her teeth as she bounces up and down on his cock. Yeah. Who's the bitch who wants in the women's title match? Johnny asks as he plays with Jazz's tits, while steadily thrusting up into Jazz, clearly holding back as Jazz fucks herself wildly on his cock. And who's fucking the bitch who wants to be in the title match? Johnny asks, with a groan as he thrusts slightly, which causes Jazz to increase her own intense pace. Fuck. Jazz moans as he sharply grinds down onto his cock. Ah, you're a real bad bitch, aren't you? Johnny moans and smirks as Jess pulls her top up over her head and tosses it around the room as she firmly rocks on his cock as he slowly thrusts it up into her. Fuck. Oh, Jess moans as she aggressively rocks forward, bucking her hips and bouncing upward. Johnny places his hands underneath his head and smirks as Jazz shows him just how bad a bitch she is as she rides his cock. Jazz moans and grits her teeth as she glares down at Johnny as he bounces and rocks roughly on his cock. Does the baddest bitch want something? Johnny asks as he slows down his thrust even more, almost coming to a complete stop as Jazz continues to bounce and rock on his impressive cock. I want that fucking belt, Jazz yells. Well, let's see. I've had your mouth and that hot black pussy. But what else can the baddest bitch give me? Johnny asks. Jazz narrows her eyes. You'll take whatever I give you. Ah, well, you want in the title match. Better give me it all. Johnny groans and smirks up at Jazz as she grinds her twat down on his large cock. Jazz slides her hands to Johnny's neck and grits her teeth again as she sharply rocks forward on his cock. Ah, guess you don't want in the women's title match. Johnny groans as Jazz holds her hands against his neck as she rides his dick. Shut your mouth. Shut your mouth, bitch. Jazz moans and sharply continues to move on his cock at a sharp pace. Guess you're not the baddest bitch either, Johnny moans as he taunts Jazz even as she can strangle him at any moment. Oh, fuck you. Jazz moans as her pussy begins to tighten around his cock. Johnny brings his hands from behind his head and pulls Jazz's hands from around his neck as he sharply thrusts his cock upward into Jazz's tightening pussy. Ah, a real bad bitch would give it all to get into the women's title match. Fuck. Oh, fuck, Jazz moans as she begins to come on his cock. Ah, Johnny Nitro moans and smirks as Jazz's pussy juices flow over his upward thrusting cock. Jazz moans and closes her eyes as she grinds down on his cock as her cum floods over his cock. As Jazz's body trembles as a result of her climax, Johnny pushes her up off his cock and slides off the desk. Eric Bischoff's apprentice stands in front of the desk and pulls Jazz off, turns her around, and bends her forward with little resistance. You know what? I'm not going to put the baddest bitch in the match. I'm going to put the bitch whose ass I'm going to take in the match. Johnny Nitro says as he lifts Jazz's skirt so that he can invade Jazz's asshole with his cock that's coated with her cum. Fuck, Jazz groans, and her body tenses as Johnny begins to thrust into her tight asshole. Ah, yeah. Johnny groans as he holds onto Jazz's skirt as he thrusts his long, thick cock in and out of Jazz's ass. Oh fuck, oh fuck. Jazz moans as she moves forward on her feet, with Nitro pumping into her from behind. Johnny licks his lips as he pumps every inch of his impressive cock into Jazz's asshole, causing his balls to smack against her rear cheeks. Oh fuck, oh fuck. Jazz moans and grits her teeth as he feels his cock ramming deeply into her ass. Johnny moans as he increases the pace and force of his thrust while he fucks the ass belonging to the self-proclaimed baddest bitch of the WWE. Oh yeah, Jess moans as she turns her head and starts to push back on his cock. Johnny smirks at Jazz while he's clearly impressing her with his stamina while he hammers her ass like a machine while sweat drips down his gorgeous body. Oh fuck, Jazz moans as his toned ass smacks against his tan and muscular waist. Yeah, Johnny moans as his cock starts to throb a bit as he continues to anal assault on the former women's champion. Johnny moans as he feels his cock continuing to pump deeply into her ass. Ah, ah. Johnny Nitro groans as he starts to come inside Jazz's ass, following one last stiff and deep thrust. Jazz moans and tilts her head back as she feels his cum filling her ass. Ah, ah. Johnny moans as she holds back his cock inside Jazz's ass for several moments until he's done coming. Jazz narrows her eyes and turns her head to look back at Nitro. You're lucky. And you're in the title match. Win, win. Johnny smirks as he pulls out of Jazz's cum-filled ass. Jazz nods her head. I'll win. Damn right I will.
Alright, everybody, that wraps up episode 1 of Wrestle Erotica. I had a lot of fun making this, and I hope you had a lot of fun listening to this. And as always, if you have any feedback or questions, or even if you want to maybe be on the show, let me know, and I am totally for that idea. Alright, have a good one.